You know what, guys? It's Mattview Reviews. Hello everyone and welcome to Mattview Reviews, where today we'll be having a look at DreamWorks' The Boss Baby, which is directed by Tom McGrath. DreamWorks Animation Studio is actually a really weird case, and I've kind of wanted to talk to you guys about that. They kind of seem to take one-sentence concepts, and they can either make them into a surprise hit, or they can muddle in mediocrity. For example, hey, what if a panda knew Kung Fu? That became a great series. Hey, what if monsters fought aliens? That was kind of meh. Hey, what if Vikings rode dragons? Boom! How to Train Your Dragon. Hey, what about a movie where a snail is actually super fast? Oh, Turbo. So how did the one-sentence idea of, hey, what if Glengarry Glen Ross, Alec Baldwin played a baby? Well, let's break it down to our 5-man categories of animation success, starting with the characters. So in terms of characters, the good is that the main protagonist of the film, Tim, has a really interesting setup. Tim has a very strong imagination and is constantly coming up with fun scenarios to play with his parents in, like for example, a pirate's cove or a jungle safari or astronauts, things like that. It's a lot of fun to see him interact with his parents in that, cutesy kid way, and it's much more interesting of a setup than what the trailer made people believe. I like Tim's innocence and creativity, which makes him very likable. Also, his alarm clock, Wizzy, talks to him and has a lot of funny lines. It's basically just a Gandalf-inspired wizard alarm clock, and it tells him every morning, "Wake up, halfling, it's 7 a.m." And it's just because the kid has such a high imagination, he talks to it and it talks back. It is super funny, and Wizzy probably is the funniest thing about this film. Now, as for the not so great bits, the rest of the characters are very forgettable. Like the parents, for example. I mean, they kind of are just parents, but none of them really stand out or do anything interesting. I mean, especially the villain, which I still don't know if I'm doing spoilers here or not, but I'm gonna try and not do a spoiler, so I won't go into it specifically. But basically, the villain is a bit of a letdown. Now, as for the main focus of the film, the Boss Baby himself. Look, the premise for this character, it wasn't going to work. It was just never going to work. Okay, DreamWorks honestly did what they could. But at the end of the day, it's just a baby that makes business references. That's it. It's like, hey, it's Casual Friday. Memos. No, it's... if people find references to an office job funny... Good. That's great, man. I don't find that funny. It's like, hey, Post-it notes. You know what I mean? Staplers? Anyone? You know what I mean? Who didn't fix the copier? You know what I mean? Who finds that funny? If there's people out there that find that funny, great. Go see this then, because all the jokes are for you. Because I'm sorry, man. I'm not a big fan of the whole business humor. It's not funny. I want to laugh about other things, not, oh look, I work in an office. I don't want to think about that. I mean, honestly, a lot of the interactions between Tim and the Boss Baby actually would have turned out really similar when you really think about it. If the Boss Baby was just a workaholic dad, it's the same thing. It's just, oh well, it's a baby making these jokes. So, oh, it's really funny now that the baby's making jokes about memos and how important they are, and also making jokes about pooping his pants. It's the pinnacle of comedy, guys. Come on. The character's just a flop. I'm sorry. If there's people out there that really enjoyed it, and by looking at the box office, and by the theater that I was in, which, by the way, was the most packed theater I've been in since I've started doing these reviews, including Moana, including freaking Sing, all close to opening night, if not opening night. It's crazy. I'm shocked. I don't know what people see in it. They're just taking their kids to it. And I'm like, I'll get into that later. I'm sorry. I'm going off a tangent. But look, the character of the Boss Baby, in my opinion, it's a flop. It was just never going to work. Reference to working in an office from a baby is not enough to make this character any bit as funny as it needs to be to pull the film off, okay? Now, in terms of voice acting, first of all, Tobey Maguire does a great job as the narrator, aka older Tim. He brings just a nice softness to the film. It really feels like he's reading a children's story to a group of kids, and he has them listening to every word with how much whimsy and care he delivers each line. It's like he remembers it like it was yesterday, and with as much joy as a kid would. And younger Tim, played by Miles Bakshi, is portrayed extremely well. It is not overplayed, and practically every line just feels genuine, and it feels like a real kid would say them. Alec Baldwin, he does a fine job voicing himself. I mean, the Boss Baby. I mean, there's really no way for him to mess up. So I guess it's good to see that he showed up to the recording booth. That's always big. Also, finally, Steve Buscemi plays Francis. I didn't stutter. His name is Francis. The owner of Puppy Co. And he does a great job being a super wacky character and just being a blast to watch. As much as his character is kind of lackluster, his performance is what makes his character even slightly intriguing, just because it's Steve Buscemi. He just brings such a nice energy to everything he does. Next, let's look at the story. I'll give you a quick plot synopsis. So, at the beginning of the film, we see Tim loving creating these adventures and spending so much time with his parents until his parents tell him that he will be, hey, what would you think about getting a baby brother? And he goes, nope. And the parents are like, So, Tim tells the story about how he recalls his baby brother arriving in a suit from a taxi and discovering that he works for Baby Corp, which is this big office in the clouds heaven. I don't really know how to describe it, but basically where babies come from is this little conveyor belt where they're given diapers and stuff, and if they laugh, they go to their parents. If not, they go to Baby Corps, where they're businessmen and they make sure things run smoothly, I guess. I don't really know what their mission is, but their mission in this film, the Boss Baby's mission in this film, is to find out why puppies are getting more love than babies are, and reverse the course back to having the babies get all the love in the world compared to puppies. So, of course, in the end, the brothers, they don't, at the beginning of the film, the brothers don't get along, they're not really, they're butting heads. I don't want a little brother. Well, I don't care about you. I just want to get my job done, blah, blah. They don't really get along. They're butting heads, and, they, of course, in the end, they're like, hey, let's work together to, I get something, you get something, So in the end, they work together to get what each other want. Tim wants his parents' full love and attention, and the Boss Baby wants a big promotion and a corner office and a golden toilet. These are office jokes. I don't get that. They're not funny. I'm sorry. And he wants a corner office at Baby Corps with the golden toilet, like I said. And that is totally how the film ends. They totally do not learn to like each other and never become brothers. What are you talking about? No, never. Why would you think that they get along at the end? Anyway, I really do like the why would you think that? Why would you think they'd get along at the end? Like, no, of course they don't. That's never happened in any film. Every time people don't get along, they always just stay separate throughout the film. They never end up liking each other. They totally don't end up liking each other. They end up liking each other. Anyway, I really do like the insinuation that this is really just how a young Tim recalls the sequence of events rather than this being the reality of the situation. It makes the film a lot more intriguing. It has a nice little twist I was really not expecting. I was really expecting DreamWorks just go crazy like, oh yeah, babies, they work in offices. It's actually Tim just making up the story, which makes it more interesting. Also, the message about getting along with younger siblings and realizing that they're are not there to simply steal love from you and can turn out to be a friend in the end. It's a great message for young kids, especially with siblings. Now, as I was talking about earlier, the premise of a workaholic baby just doesn't hit. It just doesn't. The jokes about meetings, promotions, private toilets, memos, they're just not funny. They're boring. They're really boring. And all the other jokes are mostly pop culture references, toilet humor, grocery humor, and even a few shocking / dark jokes, might I add. Okay, I'm being honest, I can't remember any, but I know they existed because I wrote them down in my notes. I said, what's with the dark jokes? Okay? The dark jokes got me only because I love dark humor. I did like those jokes. I'll be honest. I love dark jokes. I mean, my favorite comedians are like Louis C.K. and Anthony Jeselnik. Of course I'm going to like dark humor. But I was shocked. I'm like, what are these jokes doing here? It was really dark. I can't remember them. I should have wrote them down, but I just wrote dark jokes are making me laugh. That's what I have in my notes. But, okay, back on track. As I said, the premise of the film, it was really never going to work completely. It's never going to click on all cylinders. However, they did give it the best ever they could. But the story and humor, just, it doesn't work as much as they tried. As much as they really tried. You could feel that they tried. Alright, now, let's look at the animation. It's very good. The character designs are all very stylized. They all remind me of, like, an updated version of, like, 50s character models. I really like how they are drawn, and they really stand out. Also, the imagination scenes are all done extremely well. They do not become completely flat, but they adapt some 2D properties, and the colors are super bright, and they all combine to make fantastically unique scenes that are a real standout in this film. And like I said, the animation throughout is fantastic, but the imagination scenes, they pop off the screen. And finally, let's go over the music. I really like that the lullaby that the parents sing to Tim is Blackbird by the Beatles. Really fits. I never thought of Blackbird as, you know, a lullaby, and it's like, oh man, this fits really good, and it's really unique. Like I said, I never would have thought of it, and I hope this gets kids interested into a good era of music compared to, you know, the crap we have today. But the rest of the score and other songs, they don't stand out. They're really forgettable. They don't really add anything to the film. They're just there. You know what I mean? It's nothing special. It's nothing magnificent. I mean, they do the obvious thing if they say they Viva Las Vegas when they're flying to Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, you don't care. No one cares. It's forgettable. Okay, but altogether, The Boss Baby, it's not a good film. But it's not a bad film. Like, it started off at a handicap with a lame premise. Alright? But it certainly hobbled its way as close to the finish line as it could get. It really tried. So as much as I did not want to do half stars when I did a rating system, Boss Baby is just too in the middle to be given either a 2, which is lackluster, and a 3, which is okay. So I'll be giving The Boss Baby a 2.5 stars out of 5. It's an average film. It doesn't do enough right. It doesn't do enough wrong. It's just in the middle of the road. This film really did not deserve the effort it really received. This premise should have been tossed up, thrown in the corner, but DreamWorks ran with it, and it looks like they made money somehow, even though the quality isn't really there, unfortunately. It really wasn't the failure that I thought it was going to be, but like I said, it never should have left the meeting room. It really shouldn't have. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and don't forget to check back in 2 weeks with my review of Smurfs: The Lost Village. So, until next time, guys, if it's not your birthday, have a very merry on a birthday. And this has been Mattview Reviews, and that's my cue.